This is Hammer Away, and I'm Viking Stew. Let's get hammered.
Let's do it.
What's up, guys? This is Jaron Galino with Lynch Mob, and I'm hanging with Viking Stew on the Hammer Away show.
I'll tell you what, people, this is a banner day. Being a bass player and a lover of music and a guy who loves talking to fellow musicians, especially those that I've been listening to for years, it is amazing.
Can you dig it?
As you can see, today we've got bassist Matt Bissonette, and I didn't spell that wrong. And here he is with me right now. Oh my God, I'll get this thing off of the screen. You got me all thrown off. Here we go. What is up, Matt? How are you, brother?
That hammer, man, that hammer scared the heck out of me.
That's well, it should.
Is that like a hammer on, or is that like a
yeah thing? It's like a Thor thing. So
does it make you Thor when you hit it? Sorry, man. I'm in Salt Lake City now, so I'm just trying to keep my sense of humor.
Right, and I could go multiple directions with that, and I won't touch it.
Okay.
But not that it wouldn't be worth it. I'm just saying I could make it work, and it would be funny.
I love Salt Lake City. It's very, very hot outside, so I thought I'd wear a warm hat. So anyway,
just to stabilize.
But thanks for having me on your cool show, buddy. Very cool. Bass players gotta stick together.
Yeah, amen to that. Thank you for being here. I really, really appreciate it. It's I'll tell you what happened. Okay, so the other day I was going to get you the link earlier, right? Yeah. Like 24 hours sooner. But you know what happened? For anybody who's checking this out, anybody who's wants to check out more about Matt, I put a link to Everyone Loves Guitar for the interview. So I'm gonna do my best not to retread all that ground, because that was a great conversation you had with him on that show. And so I started writing my little synopsis for you for the show, right? And then I'm like, okay, I obviously don't know where to start here. Now, I believe that what I came up with was brilliant, but still, I just was like, okay, I'm not ready to write this yet. So that's why it took me another 24 hours to get my shit together and figure out what's going on and go, okay, here we go.
Here we go. And here we are. Let's go.
Because one of the biggest things that I realized, and I'm gonna put a couple of pictures up. Here's like, when was this? And I love that T-shirt, by the way.
Yeah, the Beatles. I think that was a Joe Satriani show that a small little in concert little studio thing that we did someplace in Europe. You know what? To be honest, I don't really know, but I think that's Joe's amps over there. So I haven't seen that in a while.
Well, yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah, you would know that. Yeah. The other reason why I love that friggin' shirt is because I'm a fan of Revolver.
Yeah.
And the other, okay, help me out. What is, I always forget the name. Is that Hey Jude? Not Hey Jude. It's, what's the one where they're in front of the building there? It's behind your bass. Has Old Brown Shoe on it.
Oh. Boy, but you know what? Oh, I think
the Ballad of John and Yoko is on that album too.
Yeah, I love all those albums, man. But when I go down the Beatle trail, like with my brother, he knows everything. And like Mike Portnoy and those guys, they're just like everything. I just know that they've written so many songs. I can't remember which one's where. I'm not like that educated, but I know all those songs and love those songs.
Right. And I just remember it because I had it on cassette and I would listen to it a lot because I was like, well, here's a record that doesn't seem to be one that everybody talks about or listens to. And I loved it. It had so many great songs on it. And
Revolver and Rubber Soul are my two favorites.
that's
you know.
it, exactly.
I mean, I love everything. I mean, I love everything, obviously, like we all do, but the experimental stuff. I remember my brother and I used to always laugh because he was always into early Beatles stuff. And I go, man, you should check out the older stuff. I mean, this is years ago. Right. And then now he loves the older stuff more than, I mean, the innocence of what they did, the very beginning of playing live and singing, that thing, you just can't deny the talent. But then the songwriting, as things went on, it's just the perfect storm, you know, pretty amazing.
Right. Like, well, and it's, we just lost Wilson, right?
Yeah, like a few hours ago, right? Like today.
Yeah. And I know that in one of the things that I read, you know, McCartney was saying if it wasn't for Animal, we wouldn't have had Sgt. Pepper.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? I did an album with Brian Wilson. It had to be 30 years ago, and I'm playing. I had a P bass, and I'm just kind of playing, just to, you know, getting the sound. And he came behind me and tapped me on the shoulder, and he goes, "I play bass too." And I kind of went, "Yeah, you kind of do. You kind of do."
Yeah, you do, don't you?
He was amazing. He was such a good guy. Sad.
Yeah, it is. I have a feeling that if I would have been there, I would have said, "Yeah, I play bass," and he just said, "I don't think you do." He'd have pulled a Seinfeld on me.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Seinfeld, man. I've been watching so much Seinfeld lately. I have to stop myself from everything I say ending up with a line from that show. It's abusive.
You know what, Matt? Feel free to let them all out here.
Okay. Not that there's anything wrong with it.
No.
Like, don't get me started, man. I'll go off. I got.
You will. Yeah. That's been one of my favorites though lately. Is I don't think you do.
Yeah.
And I'm getting ready to rent a car too, so we're gonna see how that goes.
That's right. But that episode is so funny because he did get a car. You know, he just didn't get the car that he asked. You can't keep the reservation. You can't hold the reservation. You can't keep it. I mean, that show is just the epitome of everything in real life that happens, and you just a show about nothing, but it has everything. You know, we have a show that we do called A Song in a Day, where my brother and I and my friend Paul Dexter, where we write a song every day. You know, we go and we start from scratch, like 8 in the morning, and we meet at coffee. We talk about, I think my things. We write a song about whatever we're going to write about that day, and throughout the whole day, everything happens, and there's all these stories that happen because it's a real day, you know, and that's what that show does, man. It's a day, you know. It's just an amazing day. Anyway.
It's there's two things I think of when you say a day. I think of Styx from classic Styx when they had that track back in the John Karulewski days, and then also I think about the did you? I'm sure you did, but did you see the movie Light of Day with Michael J. Fox and Joan Jett?
I think I have, but I can't remember much of it.
What's her name? Gina Rowlands, who played their mom. Michael McKean was in it. Right. It's I think it's a good movie. It's it's not an Academy Award winner, but there's a scene that with his nephew where he says where he's babysitting his nephew, and he's like, "Okay, so we're gonna write a song," and he says, "The first thing we hear on the TV, we're gonna write a song about it."
Yeah.
And Barnaby Jones comes on.
I love that show. Buddy Epson.
Yes, and there's a song on the soundtrack that's from that scene. And he goes, "Give up. You got no place to go." And so he goes, "Oh, there you go." And he shuts off the TV and he goes, then they do the song, "You Got No Place to Go." That's
kind of the way. I mean, that's the way I kind of like to write songs, is a phrase or something that happens in your day, and you just remember that phrase and the whole thing. I remember Jocko, by the way, used to say that his favorite music to listen to was soundtracks from TV shows back then, like Barnaby Jones and all those shows. Because he says the writers of those shows, like the guy who wrote Gilligan's Island, he wrote a verse, a chorus, and a bridge within that time zone. and it's amazing music and amazing lyrics. And now we just write the theme song. It just goes by so fast. But
yeah,
was that
Sherman? Was that who? Or was
yeah, I can't remember, man. But those writers from those shows were amazing. And
Lalo Schifrin.
Yeah, and that's what we do on that TV show, Song of the Day. Is something becomes a phrase throughout the day, and then you just ram it home and just keep saying it throughout the day. And at the end of it, you go, "That's what the song is," So kind of fun. And usually, Gregg, our drummer, he comes up with some phrase that we hold on to. We were sitting at a Starbucks one morning, and he goes, "Don't you hate it when you get your drink at Starbucks and the lady and you go, 'What do you have?' And you go, 'Oatmeal, did whatever.' And she goes, 'Perfect.'" When young millennials always go, perfect. So we just took that song. We just made the song called Perfect, So anyway, that's a songwriting thing. And
that is great. Now, where can we check that out?
It's on YouTube. It's a show called A Song in the Day.
Okay, good.
We've done it for about a year now. We're just about to release another episode. I think we got like 8 or 9 episodes. And it's just a lot of work because you go throughout the day and you build this song. And everybody has their parts remotely, or we go into a studio. It's just a really fun show. And it's a good thing for about, recording and the process of it and stuff.
Yeah. I want to make sure, Song in a Day. I just want to make sure I can put the link out there for everybody.
Oh, you internet mogul, you. I love it. Well, for those people watching for the Squirts, just seriously be careful about what you put into your browser when you put up the Squirts. It could be anything. So we take no claim for that. It's an innocent name. It's an innocent name for an innocent band.
Well, you've got another subscriber. I hope maybe that you'll be on my channel and you'll subscribe to mine. Tell everybody in the band to subscribe.
Okay. You're on.
But yeah, I found it. So let me make sure I put this link in there. Oh, sugar monkeys. I didn't mean to do it that way. I meant to do. I'll get it right one of these days. See, I'm maybe not as sharp as you thought I was.
No, you're pretty sharp, man.
So anyway, all right. I'm just gonna do that. And all right, good. Copy. So anyway, yeah. So we got Casey's here and Television Gamer is here. Classic. Do you ever play in television? Did you ever play that?
No.
No, you're not. Were you a gamer at all?
Not really. My son is, but I'm not. Yeah.
What's he like to play? Do you know?
I don't even know anymore. He's 28 now, so he's on to different things I don't even know.
I hear you. Well, and a lot of times, like my son does a lot of gaming online. So he doesn't, it's not a game system necessarily as much as it is he likes playing online.
Right.
So, but we're Nintendo fans. We're we're big Nintendo fans. Salvatore is here as well. Good afternoon.
My favorite Nintendo thing was the Mike Tyson boxing. I spent a lot of time in that.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, I still have that one.
Not good for bass players because you're just like so stressed,
Yes.
And you go play a gig the next day and you can't figure out what happened.
You're like, I'm blocking up.
Yeah.
Have you ever had that where your fingers lock up?
Not really. Besides, a little bit with that, but I remember the Detroit Tigers were in the World Series against the Cardinals, I think in 2001, 2 or 3, and their pitchers were all gaming in their hotel rooms in between games. And all their arms went out for the series, and they lost because supposedly, that's what they say. You can't trust everything, but yeah, it can kind of mess you up sometimes. So be careful, you young kids out there.
Yeah, and us older kids too. Yeah, because I had that happen at the end of a Black Sabbath tune one night. We got into that jazz bit at the end of Symptom of the Universe.
Right.
And there's that jazzy bit at the end, and I got into that, and I'm like, and my fingers are like,
yeah,
I know what you want to do, but we're not doing that.
It's funny sometimes with that, and like we're on the road right now playing a lot of outside amphitheater, and I remember with Satriani and stuff outside in the humidity back Midwest, and just being able to hang in there. And then I'm looking at Joe just doing all this stuff, and I just don't know how he does it. But yeah, humidity is tough.
God,
And
yeah, it's brutal. Now I know that a friend of mine, I sent the link out for her to be able to watch today because she and I both attended. Well, there's your brother. I wanted to throw that up there too. This is in Nashville a few years ago with Billy. So that is, for anybody who doesn't know that is Matt's brother, Gregg, who's a fantastic, amazing drummer. And a super cool guy, as well as Billy Sheehan. Yeah. And had a chance to see them down at the Rockin' Pod down there at Nashville a few years ago. But we'll get back to that. We're getting back to that. All of a sudden, here we are now. Wow. We got a chance. Carolyn and I got to see you with Elton here in St. Louis. I didn't know she was there. I found out she was there after the show when we were outside getting merch. And there she went walking. And I'm like, wait a minute. I saw you there.
Wow. Yeah, that was, I think we played at the hockey place, right?
Yeah. If you don't mind, I call it the horror building. Because even Barry Manilow, we went and saw him there. Right. And he's like, what do they call this now? And I just yelled out, it's a horror building, because it's just whoever owns, whoever's got the rent on it at the time. Yeah. That's who it is. Yeah. So it's Keel Auditorium is really what it was.
That's right. I love that. I love that area, man, with that great barbecue place on the corner downtown.
Man. I'm not being originally from here. I don't remember. I don't remember.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, there's a cool area. St. Louis is a great place. And
yeah, no, that's where I live now. But I grew up in Central Illinois, so we're both, Midwestern guys.
Midwesterners, mosquitoes, everything.
Oh, good God, yes. I'll tell you what. We went up to Wisconsin. We used to take trips to Wisconsin every summer to visit with family up there. And one 4th of July, I have never seen so many freaking mosquitoes.
We've been on the road here playing the Midwest, and man, there's some bugs coming up right at you.
Yes.
Right when you're playing, sticking on your nose while you're singing. It's just hilarious.
Yep.
That's music business.
Yeah, they have no qualms with going straight to the eye either. I'm just like, what are you? Yeah. They're this big, and there's a world that's huge, and they have to pick my eye. I'm like, can you go anywhere else?
Yeah, it's pretty nuts, man. It's a crazy world out there for bass players.
Yeah. I guess I should just be happy that they feel like I'm a safe place. I guess I don't know.
You seem like a safe place to me. I mean, I've only known you for a little bit, but
have you seen this guy? He's really nice. I'm gonna fly into his eye. I think
Viking. I just love that Viking. I love it.
Yeah, my brother gave me trouble about it when I started getting into that and doing that, and he goes, I haven't done the background on that yet. Yeah, I don't know if you might want to hold off on that. I said, dude, look at me. I'm sorry that you didn't get a lot of that, but that's
you're Viking-esque, as they say.
Thank you. See? Yeah. Right. Like, I'm not in a blues band, but we are, as Dusty would say, we're blues interpreters.
There you go. Go.
But no, this was a great show, dude. How was that? And you toured with Elton for quite a while.
Yeah, about 12, 13 years. And we still do it. We're still doing one-offs. We just did one at Petco Park in San Diego a couple weeks ago. And he's got like 5 or 6 shows a year that we do since he retired for charity stuff and different things like that. But
sure.
It was a blast. It was a great gig and great band. Really got to make some good friends from that. And
really an amazing band.
Yeah, really great. And it's the real deal. Like, you just, no click track, no nothing. You just count 1, 2, 3, 4 and go. And,
wow.
And your pat on the back that you always expect in a band. Mm-hmm. The only pat in the back you're going to get is still being in the band the next day. Everybody just does their jobs. It's pretty methodical as far as just, you don't moan about it. You just get on
Right.
Get on the train and go. You know,
That's the way it should be, right? I mean, you know.
Well, if everybody's taking care of business, doing their jobs,
Right.
you know, to look over your shoulder at the bass player, the guitar player. If everyone's
Mm-hmm.
holding their weight, then there
Yep.
should be problems, you know. So
Yeah.
there's drama. There's drama enough off stage with every band in the world to bring it on stage. So just learn your parts and sing and just do your job, you know.
Yeah. Because I mean, that's the easiest way to get rehired. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I tell everybody it's 80% just being a good guy and getting along with people in the bus, and 20% how you play. And fortunately and unfortunately, that's just the way it is in the music business. You know, I know amazing players that just can't get along with anybody, and they can't figure out why nobody wants to hire them. You know, and it's just like, you just got to be cool, you know, on the road. You just got to play nice and accept everybody. Everybody, you know, this is such a weird world right now where everybody's either far right, left. There's no middle anymore. And most musicians are a certain way, and you just have to get along with people, you know. I mean, it's just life. So
Right. Is there a specific something, and I'm not asking for who, I'm just asking for a specific issue that comes up more often than not between people that you see?
you mean like politically or like what?
No, just when you're okay. Here's one of my things too is a lot of times people go, well, and I'm sure they've said it to you a million times. Well, you're so lucky. You know, have people ever said that to you? Maybe they haven't.
Well, I learned years ago. I mean, I'm a Christian guy. I grew up, you know, became a Christian when I was, like 20 years old, something like that. And that's kind of changed everything about how everything processes. It changes everything because first thing you do is you realize kind of trying to be humble, you know, and we all have a lot to be humble for, but it's kind of like when you look online, you hear somebody talking about you, and then you see like everybody's just saying really nice things, and all of a sudden this one guy just dogs on you hard, you know. And then you just focus on that one thing because your pride gets hit. And that's the thing. Pride is the killer of every musician if you can't tame it and figure it out. So as being a Christian guy, I kind of realized, no, everybody's not going to like me. You know, like when I took Billy's place with Dave, not everybody was crazy about that. When I took Stu's place with Satriani, you get the haters. And now that it's online stuff, it's just like, it's like everything's crazy out of control, and you just can't even look at it. So I don't, but you're not going to make everybody happy. So, and as a Christian, sometimes I kind of get beat over the head with like, oh, that's ancient stuff, and you do this and you believe this, but it's kind of the only thing that holds me together through everything in my life that I've gone through. So there's issues sometimes that happen politically, because I mean, music business is pretty much all far left people, and there's a few people that are more conservative and right, but lately in the last 10 years, it's like you even talk about it, it's going to be a fight. So I tell everybody, once they start just going off on Christianity or going off on, you know, look at before you start saying stuff all day and I got to listen to it, everybody isn't just, you know, super liberal. There's different things. So let's just get along for these 8 hours we're in the studio, and just, we have more in common than you think. It's just not this, everybody hates this politician, this, and everybody hates this religion or that. Just like, chill out. Let's just get along and go your separate ways. And I'll listen to what you got going on. If you think there's something that I need to know, just be open-minded. And since that gateway has changed so much, I think the constant thing with musicians is that you just have to let that stuff go, you know, and just love each other and try and just get back to do the job and get out of there and just try and have fun and not get in the middle of drama, because there's so much drama these days, you know?
Anyway. I remember, and I'll step back to my question too, but in relation to what you just said, we were coming back, I think, from Europe. I think we were in the airport, and I got behind somebody who was definitely not of the same political view, which I really don't even know why I say that, because I am not educated enough in that direction to be even political. I don't people will they'll walk around me in circles talking about this situation or that situation. And I'm like, okay, I don't know. But she and I were talking, and she said something about a certain person, and I know that they would, jump in and save me. I said, well, okay. I said, well, let's just look at it this way. And realistically, I mean, realistically, I don't think you'll ever find yourself in that situation where that person would have to dive in and save you if you were drowning. Right. And secondly, I have doubts that they would. But the good thing is that we have a million other things we could talk about as people, right, rather than talk about something on which we'll disagree.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. It's like, it wasn't until probably 20 years ago where it just became just so divided, and just hate. And I think that's a lot of the internet. It's just kind of an unnecessary, horrible thing.
Do you think it became more widespread opposite, or do you think that the faction that is like that, because there's still always going to be a couple of different sides, and then things that are all around in that or around it outside of it. But I think, to me, it seems like there's a faction, whether they're getting, however it's working, there's different views on it, whether they just feel that way or if they're getting paid to feel that way. But that's just getting louder. And you're like,
everything's getting louder on both sides. I mean, if you put on Fox News and then you watch it for an hour, you watch Fox News for 5 minutes and then go to CNN, you go to the stations, and you realize everybody is selling. That's what I think is contributed to a lot is Walter Cronkite used to give the news, and here's the news. And he would never put the word, here's what I think about this. So since that's happened, where it's more editorial and entertainment based, it's just, I watch it. I'm in hotels every day, on the road here, and I just do a test. I'll go through all the channels to see where everybody's at. And it's just crazy, man. It's like whatever they're pushing, we got to just all, everyone's got to believe what they believe and think what they think, but just not be so influenced in this parade of, I hate this guy, I hate this guy. And it's just unfortunate, but that's the way life is.
Yeah. You and I probably are both, because I think we see things a lot alike. After watching that interview on Everyone Loves Guitar, I listened to the whole thing a couple of times. So I know that we see things a lot alike in that way. And I just think that I had a point that I was going to say, and now I can't think of it. But just the fact that it is an influential thing, and it doesn't have to be, and it just doesn't. The things that people push don't matter. Now, my wife said the other day, she goes, "You like watching that? That guy's an asshole." And I go, "Yeah, he is." I mean, I don't agree with everything.
Right.
It's just.
Yeah, I think that on our Squirts CD, the new one that we have, a lot of it was written during COVID, and it was like the end of COVID.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, all those songs are basically kind of a tongue-in-cheek, kind of a funny, trying to be positive look at how crazy everything has become, the song "Funny You Should Ask." It's on the CD.
Love it.
Thank you. This guy, how many times you get asked, you pass somebody, "How you doing? How you doing?" "Yeah, good." And then one day somebody said, "How you doing?" And I'd be like, "Do you really want to know how I'm doing? Because here's what I'm doing." You start talking about, here's what's going on in the world. It's, thought police, all this stuff. And I'm not really doing good with it, but I need to talk about it now and get it out. These songs are all about just kind of trying to be funny about how weird everything is right now, at that time and even now. So for me, writing lyrics and writing melodies and songs and singing, it's really important. It's like the responsibility of writing lyrics and throwing it out there. It just got to be, it's a big thing. You're writing stuff to present to the world, and people hear it and they could be affected negatively. That's a drag, you don't want that on you. So trying to write everything positively, to just basically coming down to love, just love each other. We're way different. Everybody's got different things, but let's just get our minds back. You know, that's one thing I like about the talk now is common sense, even though that's a distorted word now because it's from the right. But just if we all just use our brains and just talk nice, we can figure this out. It doesn't have to be fought out. So that's the basic premise of this record. And there was a lot to draw from because of all the quarantines and the this and that. So it was kind of fun to write lyrics around about that, you know?
Yeah. You also have the song about the clown, you know, and that's a video that you have out there right now.
Yes.
Too. And let me just say on top of all this, I really enjoy this record. This new Squirts record. There's a lot of, I mean, it's great. I really enjoy it. Really enjoy it.
I appreciate that. We had a blast doing it. And that song is another one that's just kind of like, I just
not a good time for a clown.
Not a good time for a clown. It's just like during that time, everybody just lost their sense of humor. You get thrown in jail for one sneeze and not wearing your mask. I can take it off now. I can keep it on. It was just such a horrific time where things were deemed unessential. It's like you're telling a human being you are unessential. You can come in here, you can work, you can close this church down, but the strip club liquor bar stays open. I mean, whatever governments would had different things in their states, it was hilarious not hilarious, but sad to watch the restrictions for certain things. And I remember the funniest, not funny, but that they banned a church and they said they couldn't sing. And I mean, I get what they were trying to do, but it's like they're going into a church saying you can't meet, and if you do meet, you can't sing. It just seems so absurd to me that I kind of had to write a song about it, you know?
Yeah, because you're like, it's the separation of church and state, first of all.
Yeah.
Secondly, it's the freedom.
Yeah, all that went away. And it went away in a fast way. So it kind of reminds me of the end time stuff that's probably coming faster than we'd want it to come, where all these little things are chipped away, AI happening, you know. I have another band that I write lyrics for, a band called Darwin, and we are writing a lot of songs about AI and how things are kind of dominating the worldview. And I think life is just a battle for your worldview, you know? I mean, I don't want somebody taking my tax dollars and putting it into something that I don't believe in. And some certain things you got to stand up for, but for the most part, it's not really worth getting that involved in the day by day stuff. You know, that's a good thing about music is you can write songs expressing your view, and you haven't just, like, if I was to say online, here's what I think about this situation, and say your view, you're asking to get your butt kicked, and someone's gonna just try and destroy you. And you'd say that person, you would never say that to my face. Why are you trashing this? Right. And I've seen so much of the hate stuff going on. I said, why don't we meet someplace, and then you could tell me to my face, because I know you wouldn't say that to my face. And if you did, you'd have to, if you said half the stuff you said, you're going to be in a physical fight with somebody. It's just kind of, we've just lost respect for human beings, and that's the sad part. So one good thing about writing songs is you can write it and walk away from it. And people like John Lennon, when they say, what does that song mean? John Lennon would always say, what does it mean to you? What does it mean to you? Like, songs can be interpreted a million different ways,
Absolutely.
But the person who writes a song knows where it's coming from. And, you don't tell everybody, well, this song is exactly about this, it's just kind of a, hope you like it kind of a thing.
Right. Yeah, I think one of the biggest things, I think, for me, it can apply to music and can apply to a lot of things. I think part of it is just that I think people have been through a lot, right?
Yeah.
And let's face it, there's some people that are going through crap that I'll never know.
Yeah.
And I went through some crap that other people will never know. Right? And that stuff comes out. But unfortunately, some people decide that you need to know just how much they hurt or how much they feel left behind, and you're like, okay, these are not for reasons that you're saying. These are for other reasons, and somebody has hurt you, and that's terrible. And let's maybe talk about that, or maybe you need to talk to somebody about that.
Yeah.
But let's not shove something in my face or down my throat. That includes Christianity that I have. That's my belief. It's the same there. It's like, you know what? Meet the person where they are first.
Exactly. I mean, I feel the same way. Like when I go to shows or just walk down the street and there's a guy on the street corner with the megaphone preaching religion and just saying, you're going to go to hell for this and that.
Right.
I feel like just saying, buddy, just what are you doing? Why are you doing this? You're just like white noise. You're making it worse for the real deal of what Jesus came to do. And Jesus hung out with sinners and didn't just go, you're over here, you're over there. It's just, we've lost that way sometimes. And it's just kind of, I mean, you can live that life just by never even saying anything about it. One of my favorite things was when Billy Graham played golf with this guy, a senator or something like that. And he played 18 holes of golf with him. And then the guy got interviewed. He goes, what was it like playing with Billy Graham? And he goes, oh man, all that hellfire sermons, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, what did he say? He goes, he didn't say anything. He goes, he just spent 4 hours playing with Billy Graham and he didn't say anything about his faith. He was just convicted by being around somebody that was the real deal, Billy Graham wasn't condemning him. He didn't say anything. I think when we're around that, we begin to understand that we're all sinners and we're all messed up and we have no right to judge anybody for their thing. But conversations are great, like conversation like this. We're just talking. Right. Nobody's getting hurt, But people will pile on this too, saying, what do you guys, it's just the way the world is. And my goal in life every day when I'm out here on the road, when I'm on home, is to have conversations just about trying to help people like you're talking about. It is important to talk about your situation, whatever that was, and to talk your way through it and come out the other side and then make the change to where you're going, to a positive, better place than you were. Because nobody wants to live in that past terror stuff, it's just too
well, right. And I've always said, I firmly believe there's two things that I say. First of all, I say it at the end of most every show, is that when you walk out your door, and I kind of started this because I was helping somebody learn to drive. And I was like, just remember, when you drive out of your driveway, you're in everybody else's world. They're not in yours. So you have to think about that other person, right? So when you're if you're driving in the passing lane, get out. Yeah. Because what if you had a loved one and that lane was blocked and an ambulance couldn't get to them? Yeah. Because you thought, well, I have the right to drive wherever I want.
And what you're talking about is worldview. If you don't have anything higher than yourself to keep you accountable, you lose the ability to realize that it's not all about you. That when you are in the fast lane and you're going 50 miles an hour instead of 75, you got to get out of that lane. You got to live around with the people that you're around. It's like the people that bring all the Jesus stuff on their bumper stickers and they're like, and then they drive like crap. And then they're like, and I see that and I just go, man, you're putting an emblem on yourself and you're messing it up. So, and having a worldview of God telling you, and back to pride and humility. I mean, be humble and get out of that lane. Know that when you back up, you're affecting everybody. And if you don't think that way, it's not good in the brain spiritually, but you're also going to get run over and killed practically. So just think about things more, and it's hard to do because the more you get into your faith and the more you start trying to do the right thing, you realize how often you make mistakes and how often you're not thinking about other people. And that's a tough thing too, because it's like, but that's what we're supposed to do,
Well, and it's huge in a band. Now I have a friend who's graduated with my daughter. And I recently got to go jam with his band and they were taking whatever advice I had, on doing a band. And I started saying, well, first of all, when you're practicing, you need to turn down. Yeah. Okay. Because your singer can't hear himself. and he's straining every day he's here.
Yeah.
And I said, that's where you have to understand, right? That, as I used to tell my students, I just retired from a school job. I'd tell my students, I go, who's the most important person in the room? And a lot of times they'll point to themselves. And I'm like, well, that's close.
Yeah.
But the most important person in the room to me is you.
Right.
So if I make life well for you, then you're going to do the most you can to make it well for me. Not that I need it. I don't.
You just said the golden rule. I mean, when they asked Jesus what the answer is, he just said two things. He goes, love God with all your heart and love your neighbor as yourself. Yeah. Now, if we did the second one, if we loved our neighbors as ourselves, we'd never have any of these issues.
Yeah.
But that's not going to happen on the earth. So you can only do your share of it, but that you're right. The most important person is the people you're with. And especially for being in a band, if you look at it any other way, you're toast. I mean, there's moments where, in the old days, music was different when I was younger because I was playing for myself. I was playing because in the old days, I'd be playing in a club or something. I'd see a girl and I'd go sing a song and end up talking to her or whatever that stuff is.
Right.
And then in the old drinking days, I'd be drinking and just having a great time and stuff. And then you get older and then you don't drink and you don't chase women. You kind of go, okay, as a musician, I didn't think there was anything more than that, because I grew up in Detroit where everybody was just partying like crazy all the time. And it was that was the goal. And then when you realize that's nothing to do with it, who are you doing music for,
Yeah.
And you're right. You're doing it for the band. You're doing it for God. You're doing it to just go forward in whatever way. And that is the missing element sometimes, That's why so many bands break up and so many horrible things happen, So it's all about those things. Yeah.
And also why so many bands I would suppose get taken, by managers or whatever. I've talked with friends of mine who are, popular musicians, and they're like, yeah, I had this manager and he screwed me over and did this. And I'm like, okay, wow. I'm like, who does that? I'm like, I don't, and how do you get stuck with that guy? I mean, I don't, it's always just kind of like, I wish I had more sense about different things. Cause I'm a musician now, but before that, if I'd have known all that stuff, I could have helped people be
right.
better off. But
you get desperate, you're younger, or when you get older, you get more desperate because you go for that record deal that maybe you shouldn't have gone for just because somebody tells you they like the music or whatever.
Right.
And you just take whatever you can get, and it's a tough split, man. That's why, you just gotta be on, you gotta have your wits about you and do the right thing. And
right.
I made many, many, many bad decisions that were based on myself that I wish I could take back. But you get to a point where you learn and you just try and do better,
Isn't it kind of interesting though, if you think back on what you had said earlier about when you first started, the odd thing about that is you're still playing for someone. You're still not, yes, we are as guys, we are ultimately thinking about, but oddly enough, you still are playing for that person because first, in order for us to get anywhere with any of that, we have to impress somebody.
Yeah.
So you're like, still kind of playing for somebody, I'm still thinking about you and not me for the moment, because ultimately it's about me, but still, it's a weird.
I think one of the things that's humbled me down over the years is playing bass in famous people's bands where they're the focus, ever since like with David Lee Roth or, Joe and Rick Springfield. I mean, play one gig with Rick Springfield and you'll feel like you don't exist at all because the girls are just like, woo. And I mean, we used to play shows with Rick. Rick let our band, the Squirts, open up for him. Because we were the band, Roger, the drummer, and the Squirts, and George, the guitar player, and me were in Rick's band for a long time. And Rick let us open up for it because it would help it would be a sound check on the gear that we'd play for Rick. And Rick was like, sure, go out and do it. I mean, but if you spend an hour if you ever walk with Rick through a club or through a hallway, you realize that it's Rick. And if you're just like pushed aside, and those are those humble things. I remember one thing when I first got married, I kind of struggled in my past about, trying to meet a lot of women and do a lot of stuff.
Mhm.
And I remember getting on my knees and praying, God, you got to remove all this stuff from me because I don't want to bring this into my marriage. I want to be present and be there.
Yeah.
Remember,
Yeah.
we had a band, the Mustard Seeds, and we were playing, and Doug Bossy was our guitar player. He's a good-looking guy, and he just moved to town. And we had our first club gig, and I'm going, okay, God, I just remove all these temptations and stuff. I don't want to be, I just want to get out of this stuff. So we're playing our first gig in a club, and this girl comes walking up to the stage. She's walking right at me, and then right when she comes, she turns right to Doug, and I go, that really hurts. That really hurts a little bit because I'm not the guy, but that was done for me, and it's almost like a thorn has been removed from my,
Yeah.
whatever, that
Yeah.
those things don't happen that much. I mean, they happen once in a while for whatever reason, because you're up on stage in a band, but it's never taken seriously. It's never like a real thing. So God meets you where you ask him to meet you, and that was kind of a weird lesson, but yeah, once you remove that playing, is I have a song on an old record called An Audience of One, like as long, if I like my attic in my house is filled with like 20,000 CDs that nobody will ever hear. They'll never know it was written, which it happens, and
I mean, are they things that like you recorded and they're like printed and
like probably about 10, 15 different albums that I've done. And I would sell them back then. And then everybody stopped buying CDs years ago. So it just kind of, because me either. But but when music all the licensing, we used to write an album and then have it licensed out and make money from that from TVs. That all dried up. So I've got all these albums, and I'm going, if I didn't do those, I would be completely bummed because I wouldn't be able to put something out and do something.
Mhm.
But the bottom line is, as long as I'm writing something that I would think God would be going, your heart's in the right place. Maybe not the best song in the world, but you're there. And I think if you approach writing that way, it takes the burden off of you trying to please the masses, because you can't do that anyway.
Well, I hear that throughout your music, no matter what you're doing. Have you written? You've written lyrically for Darwin, right?
Yep.
And I really enjoy your lyrics. And I don't know if you write all the things that you do in these bands, or if others write some of these lyrics, but the majority of what I hear, there's a great, just nice underlying message there that is not, it's what we were talking about. It's not the pie in the face. It's not well, sometimes it is. I mean, sometimes it's a humoristic, pie in the face, but it's not, the slam, shove it, but it's just thought provoking. I really enjoy it. I
really appreciate that. I mean, like I said, I mean, well, when I got in Darwin's band, it was he was writing all the lyrics, and he hired me just to sing. And we've done like 8 or 9 records together so far.
Is that right? So you've done all of those?
Yeah. He kind of knew me from the Mustard Seeds, and he's a great guy, and he would write songs, and then he'd send demos of him playing everything, and then Simon Phillips would produce it, and we'd just record it. And then about halfway through, he kind of asked me if I wouldn't mind writing a couple songs. And so I've written everything, the melodies and the lyrics and everything since the last 4 or 5 records like that. And he's great because he just says, write whatever you want to write, and I go to Simon's house to sing, and we kind of edit a few things if there's something he doesn't like, because he's living out in Switzerland. So he'll say, it's really open. And that's the thing with the Mustard Seeds and the Squirts, is they've kind of given me the freedom to do all that. And I like that. And I just don't, it's like I see a couple of things that people say with Darwin, like, why don't you get like a Jeff Scott Soto guy, or a guy that can scream and be more like I don't want to say heavy metal sounding, but more of like an operatic tone voice, like a,
I don't
which
know, man.
and I was thinking before I saw that, I go, that wouldn't be a bad idea because that music is just so high energy rock.
Yeah,
But I think,
dude.
but I think what's good about it is it's not at that point. Simon would probably say he wouldn't want it to be like that either. He would want it to be like more beatly and more interesting instead of more chops, more of like
Right.
melodies and harmonies and stuff. And Darwin is way into he calls it the harmony sandwich, where
Yes.
a chorus will come in and there's like, like Queen or whatever.
Yes.
And that's a blast to do. It's a lot of work to go in and get those parts, but that's the fun thing. So, and I just lyrically, I think that my responsibility is just not to slam. If you're going to slam on something, do it in a not a harmful way, but in a funny way, not a passive aggressive way, but try and make something good out of that bad situation. Like with Darwin, like AI stuff. This stuff is coming and it's going to cream us. It's pretty obvious something's going to happen soon that we lose control. Just like the world is kind of spinning out of control. But you can maintain your own thing by pushing against it and trying to keep it human, And like with Squirts songs, it's like, okay, like in Not a Good Time for a Clown, the basic thing is like, it's like the thought police are coming to get you. So you better shut your mouth and not say the wrong thing. But since it's not a good time for a clown, we're all just clowns, so we can't help it. We're all like the Squirts. That band is called the Squirts because we're just a bunch of old guys that act like stupid kids when we're together.
Yeah.
Like Roger, when we played with Springfield, Roger would, in the airport, he'd take a $20 bill and put it on a fish hook at the airport.
He'd do that, really?
Reel it into the middle of the hallway, and when people would come down, he'd reel it back up, Or Roger would take all the hotel room
That's a classic
numbers and move them around. So, we're just, that's what the Squirts means. It's just a bunch of idiot older guys trying to have fun. And as long as nobody gets hurt,
Now I know also there was, part of the inspiration with, kids, Squirts, that kind of thing was kind of Little Rascally, right?
Absolutely.
And so do you have a favorite Little Rascals moment that I have at least one that always comes to mind, but do you have one?
What's yours?
Mine is, and it's one of those classics. You can't do this now.
Right.
You couldn't do this now.
Oh yeah.
But it's the one I always enjoyed, the ones where Spanky was younger.
Yeah.
And the one where he's taking medicine throughout the show, he's carrying his own bottle of medicine. He's got a tablespoon in his pocket. And at the end of the show, he ends up chucking the spoon and just drinks it.
And that's a funny thing. You couldn't do that now, as much as now you couldn't even have Seinfeld on the TV because
probably not.
We've gone that far that everybody's so touchy. It will be some type of abuse to somebody.
And I think part of what bothers me about that is the fact that some people who normally probably I would more agree with are really doubling down on being an ass about it. And you're like, come on, man, don't, it can't swing so far. Can we balance
balance
somewhere in the middle?
Yeah, it's just balance,
I'm not saying it's got to be here, but be here, don't be here or here. Just have fun,
Yeah. Well, you got to be able to laugh, man. As soon as we stop laughing.
Yeah.
We done.
Yeah. So did you have a special Little Rascals moment?
I can't really remember. I just remember mostly when I watch it, I just think about how everybody thinks they were being abused and pushed around and made to do something they didn't want to do. And I don't know the truth of that. It's kind of like the Three Stooges. The Three Stooges even did an apology tour about like, we weren't really punching each other. We weren't really doing this. And, and even Mel Blanc and the Bugs Bunny people, are saying that those things were too crude and, but then I went on the off day, me and a couple of guys went and saw the new John Wick movie. Yeah. And I just went, the same people that are telling everybody to not to be nice with everybody and to not have guns and to not do this. And, I watched that movie and I'm just going, I don't know how many more headshots you can have of people getting shot. And we're all just watching the show going, it's like you're getting punched in the face. And I'm going, we're going to criticize the Three Stooges and Spanky and
right.
So it's kind of hypocritical. Hollywood's pretty hypocritical. I'm hypocritical. We're all hypocritical.
Yeah.
And I think we need to quit looking at each other and just try and start doing better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's been many times that that I've gone on a rant, and I'm like, like I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, I know at some point my best friend, she and I get together every Thursday, have some coffee and chat. And I'm like, I know today's not the day she wants to hear any of this. I'm just like, okay, I got to watch it. But I'll tell you what, I do want to throw a shout out to that Darwin stuff. I mean, if nobody's heard it yet, and I've only, let me just tell you something goofy, if you don't mind. I was up all night last night working on my basement stuff. Because I've got to get this place finished up. But I just made a playlist of your stuff. I had the Squirts stuff, I had the Mustard Seed stuff, I had David Lee Roth stuff, and I had the one Darwin album. I had the 5 Steps on the Sun. Yeah. And good Lord. I mean, I want to, before I talk about Darwin anymore, the Mustard Seeds, the Squirts. Give me a synopsis for people who are getting ready to listen to it, because I put links to it down below. So you can check out all 3 of their records, and you can check out all 3 of the Squirts records. So there's links down below to check those out. And then if there's possibilities of buying those, if you really like those, grab it, or buy them off a digital that you can get. But give me a synopsis of the Mustard Seeds, and then let's talk about the Squirts.
Well, Gregg and I were out on the road with Satriani. It's like 92, 93. We're doing the Extremist tour. And we were way deep into King's X. King's X was the band, our favorite band. And we just loved the detuned guitars and the harmony vocals and just all that stuff. So I just started writing songs, and one song turned into another, the same as the Squirts. We just decided to put a band together. So, but then at that same time, around then, music completely changed. It got into Nirvana and everything. Music just got a little different, where we were kind of a proficient, good musicians playing stuff and singing harmonies, and there wasn't any real anger in it. And that was at a time where anger was a premium, and everybody changed. So we kind of got lost in the sauce, and we kind of, over the years, we tried to kind of play the game of having songs that were heavier, that were a little darker and stuff like that. But it was just a kind of a strange time, but we had Doug Bossy play guitar, my brother played drums, George Bernhardt played guitar. And then when my brother left, Jorge Palacio played drums. And we did it for a while. We got signed by a German label, and we were played in front of like 50,000 people in Rock am Ring in Germany and stuff. Things, it's just really tough to do a band from scratch for that long. We were together for 10 years, and we were in the back of vans. We were driving around doing everything and doing the work. It just kind of, and then everybody got a little bit older and got families and stuff. And it just kind of, so we just figured it was easier to record, like the last Mustard Seeds record, we did it online, and, Doug was living in Nashville. And so we would just kind of do it in individual studios and stuff.
Yeah, because you did the first album it was released in 96, right?
Right.
And then 98 for Red, the second album.
Yeah, we did the first one in our little home studio with Akai 12 tracks, and it's a couple songs in the studio and mixed them together. And then the next studio, we did it at Rumbo Studios in LA. Okay. And we had a little bit of a budget from the German label. And then the third one, we did ourselves, because we all
10 years later, then 2008.
Yeah. We all kind of went our separate ways and did our stuff. And then we just said, let's just do another one. So we just started with one. We started with the song called Complicated World, and just kind of built on that, and then did that album. And then like the same thing with the Squirts. We would play before Rick Springfield shows. We'd open up for him, and Rick was cool enough to let us. We'd sell T-shirts. We'd sell hats.
That is cool, man. That is.
We gotta do that. And
that is great.
We did that for several years, and then same amount of time, probably went back 10 years or something. And then one song just led to another, and then just had all.
Yeah, because it was 2003 for the first one, 2005 for the second one, and then 20 years later now.
20 years later, yeah. The fact that we're still here is amazing. I mean, everyone's gone through, we've all gone through health scares and life scares.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I probably shouldn't laugh about that, but yeah.
No, you should, because we just talked today to the guys, and I told them that we're going to be doing this and stuff, and they all said say hello, and we hope you like the record.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Tell them hello for me. I look forward to talking to all of you guys, and maybe next time, or we can have you guys back, and we can just have a fight or something.
And all the monkeys, all the childish. It'll be childish, I'll tell you that.
That's perfect.
Not childlike, childish.
We'll just call it Hammer Away Kids Play Day. That's what we'll have. We'll have a play date.
You'll take your Thor thing and smack us to shit.
I will. I'll bang it on something. Hey.
Yeah.
Settle down.
That's right.
I worked for the special school district for a lot of years. I know how to do all that. I can do that.
I'm with you, buddy.
I'm like, hey. I use that a lot. Or I used to use why can't I say his name now? Comedian Pale. Anyway, Beyond the Pale was his big deal.
Key and Peele?
And no, he had his first show was Beyond the Pale. Why can't I say it? Anyway, I love his stuff. I do that on the show sometimes. I just get like, oh, hey.
I like to see you go into the gray area where I live, where I can't remember anything anymore. So
I know. Well, it's only because Matt. It's only because we have so much other crap in our heads.
We are carrying the world on our shoulders.
Right. I mean, anybody younger than me, I have more things in my head that I've experienced than they have. So
there you go.
You go. But anyway, so I used to say chip, chop, chip. That's one of my big ones that I say to the students. Chip, chop, chip. Knock it off. Knock it off. So anyway, so then the one thing I did want to say, and here's a band that if you've never heard them, Matt, I would be eager for you to check them out. There was, we all listen to music and we all hear a little something, right? Frank Hannon did a song years ago, and I stupidly asked him. I couldn't help it. I'm just like, so there was a little bit of a Ted Nugent influence there. Did you know that was there, or did that just kind of come out in the song? And he goes, no, I wasn't thinking about that. I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. I'm just because it sounds a lot like that song. Right. So I just was wondering that. But there's a band that there was a little bit of a hint, and only because of the fact that it's probably influences on them are the same, and great harmonies and that kind of thing, is a band called Strange Celebrity.
Oh, wow.
Now, I recently saw a picture of somebody, I can't remember who it was. I'm like, was that Matt? Who was that? They were lined up with Tracy Ferry, who was the bass player, and he was moved on to be in Stryper for a little bit.
Right.
And but Tracy Ferry was the bass player for Strange Celebrity. It's a great record. They only did one record, kind of like End Ever After.
Okay, Strange Celebrity. I'll check it out. No, give me one more band that I can rip off. I like it. Yeah, I mean, it all comes from someplace else, right? There's no lots left. So
yeah, and I did finally hear, and my last time through that catalog of stuff that I put together, because I'm telling you, I listened to it all last night. I think it went through 3 times. So I caught the Nirvana style. There was a little of that, and Foo Fighters I heard in there too. I mean, subsequently Foo Fighters. I mean, it's, but yeah, I mean, there's just, and I'm not saying that anything, oh yeah, they stole that from that.
No, I take that as a compliment, because I mean, the Beatles ripped off a lot of artists, black artists.
John Williams.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, but I mean, we will tip our hat at, I mean, I think we were kind of had a style like the Foo Fighters before the Foo Fighters, because we were kind of, we were doing it that kind of music,
Right.
I think, before the Foo Fighters, but
Good
Foo
call.
Fighters,
Good call.
they kind of figured it out and did it well, So, but
yeah,
we definitely will tip our hat to any band because there's definitely, my brother calls it a music vocabulary. Everything you are as a musician, as a person you become, is the influences you've had in your life.
right.
And you try and spit out the bad ones, and and once you do music for this long, you kind of know more what you like and what your strong suits are and what you're not so good at. So, I mean, I don't think I have an original thought in my brain, to be honest, but we just keep trying.
Well, you definitely, though, you've got, how do I want to say this without going, oh, nice, way to kiss up. That's not my point, but my point is that I was really surprised at the longevity. There's a lot of people who've worked with a lot of different people, but when I started hearing about your longevity with Elton John, with, these different people, I'm like, dang, I mean, that's a long time for each of those. So that really surprised me. But then when I heard your vocals on this stuff, I'm like, that's really, really good.
Well, I really appreciate that. It's funny. I just talked to my brother. It was his birthday yesterday, and I called him. He's out with Ringo right now. Just talked to him and said, we've had these amazing lives that we've been able to play with these people that people know, and kind of just seeing the way the world works, and the fact that he just turned 66. I'm going to be 64 in another month, and that we're still able to do this, that we're still fortunate that people would want to even call instead of just calling some young guy that could play 10 times better or whatever. We're just very appreciative, a lot of gratitude that people still want us to play, and that we've had an amazing run, and how one thing leads to another. It always does, and how you just have to be patient when nothing's happening and all of a sudden everything's happening. It's just this whole ride, it's just been amazing. So, and the singing thing is, I just remember from college just going, I remember being in my friend's studio and I started doubling vocals, and I remember hearing that going, that's what the Beatles did. Okay, I'm going to triple it now. I'm going to put a harmony. It's just the vocal thing I've kind of fallen in love with over the years, of just completing a song from top to finish and have it say something, and try and have it say something that lifts people up. That's a whole other thing. It's easy to complain and whine in a song and lyrics, but try and make it a story and try and make it something that can make somebody's day better. I mean, not to sound cheesy or anything, but
but I mean, that's really, I mean, you have to have a mission, and if that is part of that creative mission,
it's a target. It's definitely a target. You need a target for everything in your life. Whether on the road here, I'm going to walk 10 miles today. What do I need to do that? There's a Starbucks 5 miles. So if I get to that Starbucks, turn around, that's my 10 miles for the day. You got to have that focus of where you're going every day. And the song is the same thing. You got to realize before you start putting pen to paper, this is kind of what I'm going to say. And then you kind of wheedle your way around through it till it comes out, change it at the end or whatever. And then when it's done, the crazy part starts where people say they hate it or they like it, and that's out of your hands. So it is a mission and it is a target that you try and do.
I hope when you're here in St. Louis, I think it's in August. I hope when you're in the area, maybe, if you're on one of those missions, maybe I could join you. I don't know, whatever. If you ever have anybody join you for that, because that'd be great, man. I mean, that would be,
we'll walk together. You got to do 10 miles of it.
I can do that. I'll tell you what, I can bring a bike.
Okay. That'll work. Work.
I mean, no, I don't mind walking either. I mean, I'll start working on it now, but,
we're doing it.
That's just, it kind of goes back to me wanting to re-ask that question though, too. Have you ever had anybody tell you that you're lucky?
Oh yeah. Yeah. And I wouldn't argue with that, because, there's always going to be somebody that can play better than you or sing better than you or is a nicer person than you or whatever. That's obvious, because there's so many people and so many people fighting for the same jobs,
Right.
And I wouldn't argue. I mean, there's tons of gigs that I could say that there's a better bass player for that. But for some reason I got the gig, whether somebody recommended me. It's like with Elton's gig. My friend passed away and I knew him and he knew Davey Johnson, the guitar player. And they just called me and they didn't make me audition or anything. They said, come out. And like a week later, I'm playing with Elton. Those things happen, but they don't happen if you're not ready for them and you can't do the job. You got to be prepared for everything. Yeah. And Gregg and I definitely tried to put in the work to be prepared for any style of music or whatever it is. And I know, once you get in there and you're playing, they appreciate you. That's the best thing that can happen is you get in a band and they appreciate you and you do the job and then you move on to something else. So it doesn't bug me that people would say that. I mean, I've heard it, everybody does it, and a lot of that is their problem or their thing, but I wish there was enough to go around for everybody, Unfortunately now there's just no gigs and a million players and I don't know what's going to happen in the next 20 years, Yeah. Hopefully it works out.
Yeah. I usually, I'm of the group that's like, luck's got nothing to do with it. I just don't, I say I'm Irish, but I don't believe in luck. If ever I'm buying a St. Patrick's Day shirt, it can't have the word luck on it.
Luck is a funny word. It's kind of like that word karma. It's like, yeah, that's such a weird word to me because, so if you believe in karma, then you must be like the Hindu version of karma, meaning that you reincarnated and then you're going to come back. It gets into that whole thing. I mean, it's like the golden rule, right? It's just like, it is the golden rule. It's like, do this and chances are things will go better for you. It's just wisdom and it's just common sense. And I don't think that, I don't think everybody gets what they deserve. And it's like God's grace, that saying that says, you don't want what you deserve, because what you deserve is nothing. God is gracious enough to give you things because he's gracious. I don't want what I deserve because what I deserve, I don't want,
I get it.
So I get it. I'm just grateful that I've got 2 legs to walk to Starbucks, that I can do this today with you, meet a new friend, hang out, do a show tonight, which I got to get going for, by the way. They just texted me.
Yeah, I let you get rolling here.
And but it's it's just being grateful, man. It's the only way to go. I mean, that sounds like broken record, but
well, it's just one of those things where I'm like, I don't know, when it comes down to it, luck. I mean, you work your butt off. You have a good work ethic. You've got different skills that you use, and got a great personality for that kind of stuff. And I think people would just jump on that.
I'm just great. I'm just thankful that it's still being called, and you got to be ready for it. You can't just, luck or whatever you want to call it.
Yep.
Has a way of not working out when you're not prepared,
Right.
So eat your beans at every meal.
They're the musical fruit.
That's right.
Now here's the album. It's out now, so you can get it. It's on F-Bomb Records. I actually did that for you guys.
That's beautiful. That's
Thank
beautiful.
You. Yeah, Dave's like, my regular guy's out right now. I said, I'll take care of it for you.
Yeah, you could have another job there if you want it. Come on.
Well, I'm working on it. But I really appreciate the time. We'll let you get rolling, and it's been a pleasure, my friend. It's a pleasure
meeting you, man. You're a good dude, and you're a monster bass player, and just keep up the good work.
Thank you. If you don't mind, just one more minute after we're done here, and I'll just I'll sign off with you later in a minute. All right, folks. Well, again, thank you, Matt. If you have anything else you want to say to everybody out there, if you want to
just everybody be cool.
There you go. That's beautiful. I love it. I love it. So everybody have a great rest of the evening. I'll be back probably doing a little racing tonight with Go Game Go. Be sure and check it out. Go Game Go is the other channel I helped get started with. Jeff is out there doing tons of stuff with the Switch too. Man, what a great bass player day this has been. I tell you what, doesn't get much. Matt Bissonette, Marco Mendoza. I mean Mendoza. I can't even say it. I'm so thrilled. Marco Mendoza, and Viking Stew. That's just the way it goes.
There it goes. Love it, man.
So, all right, man. Well, have a great evening, folks. Matt, we'll talk to you soon.
Can you dig it?